this thing off, I will tell you a little bit about Kansas City that would be nice for music educators to be aware. Hello from Michael Nash from sunny Southern California. Awesome. Any relation to Dick Nash or Ted Nash? Maybe, perhaps. That would be cool. If not, no worries. I appreciate having you from sunny Southern California. Dick Nash is one of the more incredible trombone players of all time. Ted Nash, his son, is an incredible saxophone player who just stepped down from Jazz at Lincoln Center, and he is an incredible musician. So the name is famous in the musical world. Kansas City, if you're not familiar, is the only city of music recognized by UNESCO, which is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. We are recognized for having a really significant importance in the development of jazz history, but in general, a lot of music history here in Kansas City. It was the first city to broadcast music from coast to coast. So people could tune into Kansas City in the early days of broadcasting. You could hear with the antenna, it would reach the East Coast and the West Coast because we were centrally located. And then, of course, we had Union Station that was built in 1913. And when that was finished, became the central point of rail travel. And people of all artistic disciplines would come through Kansas City, traveling from point A to point B, California to New York, New Orleans to Chicago. And we became a melting pot for culture. And all these artisans from Kansas City were constantly getting access to all the greatest artists from every artistic discipline around the country. So there's a lot of really great culture and history here in Kansas City. And UNESCO worldwide, part of the United Nations, has recognized Kansas City for being the city of music in the United States. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. I appreciate everybody jumping in. We got some people from all over the country. All right. So welcome to the BAC music webinar. The purpose of today is going to be for you to really have a solid understanding of all of the things that we have to access to make a difference in your music programs. We got some really great ways to unlock funding that will allow you to get more instruments for your program at no cost to you. We're going to talk a lot about our company. We've got 4 pillars of the company, which include BAC Musical Instruments, our marching brand of 825 marching brass and percussion, and then, of course, rentmyinstrument.com and the Virtual Booster Club, which is going to be a glue piece that brings everything together and makes a lot of sense for how we're building this ecosystem for the music world. This is intended for band directors and music educators, fine arts directors, parents that are trying to find different creative ways. Maybe you're a band booster. I myself just enjoyed my first year as a band booster president here in Shawnee Mission School District with my son's program. So anybody that really believes in building a strong foundation for your music program and building your community, that is the purpose of what we have happening today. So let's go ahead and dig in. Our promise to you on this webinar is to really, by the end of this, we want you to have a really great understanding of all the things that we have to offer and how to leverage it to really grow your music program wherever you are in the United States. We're going to commit that to you, and I'm going to say this. If you see the value that we have to offer for your program and you see the clear way that this will impact the community in your neck of the woods, we'll ask you, will you take action? And will you go ahead and sign up? And will you go ahead and take advantage of these things? Because we're doing these things to make a difference in the world. And we can only do it with your help. So I hope you stick around at the very end of this. If you stay on, we've got a really special treat for you that will be, I think, very well received in your programs. So if you stick around to the end, we got a special treat. So don't wait to get that. All right. We're going to first start this off by giving you an example of a case study on the Virtual Booster Club, which is going to be that glue that I talked about. So here in Kansas City, in Independence, Missouri, there is a school, Clifford Nowlin Middle School. This last year, they generated $11,000 from this program. Now, this is not a huge program in a suburb. This is right here in Independence. This is right outside the city lines. They have a good program, but this is not a huge program, which should say a lot for the fact that they raised $11,000. That means that this program really is meaningful. $11,000 allowed him to get Josue Molina, my very good friend, was able to get 2 tenor saxophones, 2 marching baritones, a marching trumpet, a bell kit, and practice pads, all for free for his program. It saved them thousands of dollars. Let's see here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mike Corrigan. I'm the founder and president of BAC Musical Instruments. I started my company out of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. So I had actually taken a job early on. As a young man, I had pursued my passion. I went to school for band instrument repair and then found myself making custom brass instruments. I had relocated to the New England area to work at a factory making trombones. And then in 2001, about a year and a half into my apprenticeship there, September 11th happened in 2001. And I was pulled into an office about a week or 2 weeks after that had happened. And my boss had explained, hey, we're going to keep you, but we got to cut your hours back to 15 hours a week. And I thought, oh, man. And I was very fortunate where he had said, hey, you could use our shop. I know you went to school for repair. You could use our tools, do whatever you need to do to get by. But as a 21-year-old individual who had just relocated to the East Coast in an area that's not too inexpensive, I had to figure it out. So I started doing business as a DBA, BAC Horn Doctor. And that was in 2001. I was 21 years old. Eventually found myself working full time again later. But that kind of instilled upon me what I wanted to do is make a difference with what I did. So I moved with my drum corps sweetheart. That's right. We got married on a football field. The drum and bugle corps, the Boston Crusaders, played at our wedding. We relocated to my wife's hometown in the Kansas City area of Overland Park. And I started BAC full-time in 2004. And over the years, we have evolved. And you're going to learn a little bit about that in this webinar. We started manufacturing custom trombones, and we started with sack butts in 2007. And over the years, I've learned a lot about how we can impact the musical community. I was the youngest of 4, the only one that had the opportunity to do band, which is an important part of my story. So I have always wanted to make music accessible to as many kids as possible. So that is the purpose. We really want to make a difference with what we have to offer here. So that's what we're going to be digging in. Kind of talked a little bit about that history in 2001 and then making instruments in 2007. One thing that's not represented here is what were you doing in 2005 in September, August and September. Try to remember what you're doing in 2005 because this is an important element of our timeline that's not on the screen. And that was the landfall of Hurricane Katrina hitting New Orleans and the Gulf Coast. And about a year and a half after the storm in 2007, I started a journey down there on an annual, what I thought would be once turned into an annual visit to New Orleans to help the musical community. I had a musical instrument repair shop that we used all over the summer during the DCI, Drum and Bugle Corps season, where I fixed instruments for mobile people. And I brought that down to New Orleans to do free repair for the community. That experience really shaped a lot of what you're going to learn about today, because again, I saw that as a band instrument manufacturer, there was so much more we could do to impact the community. We saw a lot of really poor quality instruments being donated after the storm to these programs. The instruments didn't work out of the box. That is ultimately where the seeds were planted for what you'll learn later in this webcast is our apprentice series instruments. We work with musicians all over the world. The first instrument musician of note is Elliot Mason with Jazz at Lincoln Center. We have also just recently finished the horn for Vincent Gardner with Jazz at Lincoln Center with Wynton Marsalis. We've made instruments. If you've seen the Super Bowl recently, Trombone Shorty playing America the Beautiful on a BAC custom trombone. We've also had instruments featured in Super Bowl halftime shows with Bruno Mars, Justin Timberlake, Beyonce. We work with musicians that play for John Legend, Paul McCartney. Come on, he's a Beatle. Taylor Swift, Kool and the Gang. We work with musicians literally all over the world with our handmade, handcrafted instruments that are made right here in Kansas City's historic Jazz District. We're also working with a growing number of school districts and schools and universities nationwide. We've outfitted the United States Marine Corps Drum and Bugle Corps with all new brass instruments a few years ago. Excuse me. And we're working with cool schools like Texas Southern University, Alabama State University, school districts all over the place. The Boston Crusaders Drum and Bugle Corps, who are threatening to win their very first world champion title this year, is playing exclusively on BAC and 825 marching brass instruments. All right, we're going to move on. Why are you here? So again, I really appreciate the educators that are tuning into this today. This is what it's all about. Why are you here? Music educators, band directors constantly have challenges. And I would invite you to take an opportunity on the Q&A section where we have some notes going. Go ahead and let us know what challenges you're generally running into in your daily lives or throughout the year. What kind of things do you have? You'll see on the screen right now, we've got a few things. We've got shrinking budgets, right? I'm sure a lot of you are dealing with that. That's an understood thing in the arts in general, but budgets are certainly not getting larger. In fact, even in instances where we've worked with school programs in Texas where they're building new schools, they'll come up with they'll come up with a budget to buy new instruments, and then fast forward 4 or 5 years later, because that area is growing and the district is not supporting the growth of those programs. So they have new instruments from a few years ago, but now they have more students and they don't have the budget to support that. Budgets are shrinking all across the country. Fundraising burnout, that's another one. We're always trying to come up with ways of raising money, and you're expecting a lot out of people in your program, parents and the students. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We've got instrument cost rising. That's a big thing, especially with the tariffs. Everybody is dealing with the fact that tariffs have impacted the cost of instruments. That is industry-wide. It doesn't matter where you're at. That is a reality that we're dealing with. So instrument prices have always gone up, and you're going to see a bump this year, especially from the last several years. Delay in getting instruments. We have run in constantly into situations where a school district or a program has ordered, let's say, 12 sousaphones or 10 tubas for the district. What is the wait time that you're experiencing? Because we have heard from partners and educators that some of those delays are over a year out on stuff. Dealer networks and middle people, this is something that you may be aware of or familiar with. At the end of the day, a lot of schools are working with dealers that are in the middle of the factory, and that presents a lot of interesting challenges like priorities and things like that. We are working direct with you. And then traditional rental programs is another thing we're going to be talking about. Traditional rental programs are not necessarily the most budget conscious option for families to get into instruments. And this is one of the things that we're trying to solve, is making band more accessible. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's dig into this first one, fundraising fatigue. So I'm going to look over here. All right. Fundraising burnout, no budget this year, no fine arts manager for the school, hard to find instruments. Yes, this is all really good stuff. Those are good things to be pointing out. Thank you, Tyree. So we know this. I know this from being a band booster president last year. Now, I had never been a band booster parent until last year. My son is a freshman last year. And so I'd always been teaching marching bands. I'd always been on the field with the band director. And then when rehearsal is done, I'd be dipping out. I learned a lot about the support system with these band boosters since I became a band booster president. What you're looking at is, if you're a band director, you're hoping that you've got a bunch of parents helping you. It's not always the case. Maybe there's a couple of core parents helping you out, but you're looking for a lot of help from those parents. And fundraising burns a lot of people out, not just the band director, the parents, the students. A lot of times you're looking at what are some of the fundraising things you guys have done? I'm going to look at the chat thing to see if anybody throws that out. We've talked about with people selling mums or some sort of, mattress sales, or selling candy bars, or whatever the case is, selling popcorn, selling pizzas. You're expecting a lot out of the students to go out. You also don't get participation rate from everybody. So what we find is 20 to 30% participation rate. And then at the end of the day, how much money are you making? I remember last year that I was working in the concession stand because nobody wanted to do it. And I said, I'll do it. And I wasn't the only one. I was helping. I don't know what they would have done. There was like 4 or 5 of us in that kitchen the whole time. I didn't get to see my son perform in his halftime show. I was in the whole time doing these concessions. And at the end of the night, I think we might have raised a few $100s. And I'm thinking to myself, was this really worth it? A few $100, as much as we were sweating, there was no air conditioning, so that fundraising fatigue is a very real thing. Instrument affordability and access, as we pointed out over here, instruments are getting hard to find. The prices are going up. This is a real thing. And then you have maintenance that's involved. So not only do you have the instruments that the program is looking to purchase, but we're also talking about the families that you're serving. So making it accessible for the families, and then also the instrument maintenance and repair. We're going to talk about how we're solving that in a really great way. And with all these things, if the instruments aren't a great quality, or if you're having instrument repair issues, kids are dropping out of the program. They may not realize that it's the instrument that they're struggling with. They may think it's themselves. So that's something that we're looking to solve. Common struggle number 3, quality and maintenance, which is kind of coming back to what I'm just talking about. If you've got an instrument that doesn't serve the student well, it's not serving you well, because you're not getting everything out of the program you want. And everybody in that room is important. If one student is struggling, that's going to bring the energy level down with the people around them. If everybody is successful, you're going to see a lot more enthusiasm in the band program, not only with the students, but with the band director, especially if that's impacting things like intonation. What's that? Oh, yeah. Let's see what we got. All right. Discount cards and catalogs. All right, great. I'm just checking out some of the fundraising things. I appreciate that. The discount cards, that's, again, we're going to talk about how much time that's generating, how much money that's generating, and where that funding is going to go to. Because the fundraiser that we're going to be talking about today is going to specifically impact your musical instrument budget. So having a series of different fundraisers is important, so you can get all the things that you need. But musical instruments is a big line item. I know that our school needed to get 5 sousaphones last year. So if we can offset that, that's a really good thing. And then let's say we play in front of the school and play outside. Awesome. So having these fundraisers, I definitely don't want to knock on them, but we do want to highlight how awesome what I'm going to be telling you about the Virtual Booster Club is, because it's going to give you a whole lot of credit to get free instruments. So we're going to dig into that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay, slow deliveries and supply chain issues. I mentioned this. We've had schools waiting years. I have a very good friend of mine, names won't be mentioned, who is an athletic band director for a large college program west of us. And he is actually an endorsing musician for one of our competitors. And I remember having a conversation where he said, Mike, I'm an endorsing musician for this other company, and I've been waiting over a year and 3 months to get our instruments that we ordered. I don't know what to do. That is something that we're hearing a lot, especially with these larger instruments like bari saxes, tubas, euphoniums, sousaphones. We're going to dig into our situation, because that is not at all where we're at. We've got a very streamlined delivery process. All right. And common struggle number 5, traditional rental traps. This is another problem we're going to talk about with rentmyinstrument.com. When you're around the country, there are a lot of different situations. The reality is the landscape in the music world has really changed. 30, 40 years ago, there were a lot more mom and pop programs, a lot of mom and pop stores around the country. You'll notice that a lot of them have gone away. A lot of them have been bought out, and there are some bigger companies that are serving the world. We have taken an unprecedented approach, and we are the manufacturer of the instruments. So our rental program is absolutely crazy. We're going to talk specifically about that in a little bit. But again, we're saving families a ton of money. Making music more accessible, more affordable is going to keep kids involved in the program a lot longer, and you're going to see an ultimate impact on your program overall. We've got no interest, no financing, no hidden fees, full transparency, and it's very stress-free for you as a band director and your families. All right, here we go. Why traditional fundraising is inefficient. We talked earlier, like cookie dough, for example. I have been working with a lot of programs and heard all sorts of things that have been done. At the end of the day, when you break it all down, the burden of the hourly investment that you have with your families, you might be getting $13 an hour. That's probably really healthy. All the follow-up, the follow-through, the implementation, the meetings with the fundraising companies before, all of that. And at the end, we want to do everything we can to get money. I understand that. So again, we just want to underscore how this program we're going to be talking about today is going to get you a lot more impact for what your effort is putting into it. So why traditional instrument procurement fails? So here's another thing with instrument procurement. So now we're talking about a school that needs to purchase, say, let's say a set of new baritones or a set of new mellophones for the marching band, or sousaphones or tubas. Again, high cost dealer networks in the middle, slow deliveries. Right now, we're going to tell you with our instruments that we're going to be providing, if a school was to order, say we're out of stock on sousaphones and you order sousaphones, we have a very reliable 18 to 20 week delivery window. When you're talking about competitors being years out on things like that, when we can reliably serve you within an 18 to 20 week window, that's going to give you peace of mind. As we know, if money and budgets don't hit on a certain time, if delivery is not made in a certain window, we've seen school districts lose that funding that was earmarked to buy instruments. And now the band director suffers because the company didn't deliver in that window. They've lost that budget. It had to be spent some other way. And now they're going to have to wait for the next Hail Mary to get instrument budget for those sousaphones. How can we solve all of these issues? Let's go. Here we go. Introducing the 4 pillars of what we have to offer. BAC Musical Instruments, which is all from the handmade trombones and trumpets we do here, the handmade and custom instruments. We also have the apprentice level instrument, which is our entry level, our select model intermediate level, and our artist series, which is an imported professional level instrument. We're going to talk a little bit about what is made here in the United States versus what we've developed and designed that are made for us with partner factories. Our 825 marching brass instruments and percussion. That's going to cover all of that. So you got your concert instruments, everything from woodwind and brass, tubas, bari sax, piccolo, all those things with BAC. And then 825 is our 825. If you're not familiar, 8 to 5, marching across the yard lines. We have a really great developed line of brass instruments and battery percussion and front ensemble. RentMyInstrument.com is going to be the solution that is going to benefit your families. It's going to save your families a ton of money. And then at the end of the day, it's going to be good for you because we're saving families money. We're encouraging students to be involved longer and to stay engaged with the program. And then the glue that holds us all together is the virtual booster club. So leveraging the Rent My Instrument model that you can make available to your families, we're going to be matching dollar for dollar. We're going to talk about that to give you credit to be used on BAC and 825 instruments. So here's the big shift. Our pricing, because we're the only manufacturer that is going direct to the school. Our pricing was already very competitive when we were in the marketplace. We had a couple hundred dealers nationwide. We were up against everybody else, Yamaha, Consumer, Jupiter, any of these other companies that were out there, but we're saving you a ton of money. We were already competitive when we had a dealer network. All we've done now is we've decided rather than paying the middle person, we're going to inject money into your program. So we're giving you better pricing on instruments, and we're also doing this dollar for dollar match and investing in your program. So that is really at the crux of everything. That's what we did. We got unbeatable prices. We got super fast delivery on instruments that are coming from the Rent My Instrument side of things for your families. It's shipped for free to their house. So we've talked about all sorts of different things over the years. We're going to send it directly to the family. It's not going to go to the band room. It's not going to be on you to distribute. We're going to send it directly to them. And then we're going to match dollar for dollar. And that's the virtual booster club we'll be talking about, giving back to the musical community. So BAC Musical Instruments, I want to make sure you understand, again, we've got handmade instruments. I started the company with the vision and idea of creating the best quality trumpets and trombones in the world. After we realized that, we started working with these great musicians, and I had my experience down in New Orleans. We started seeing an opportunity to develop high quality instruments at the student level all the way through. So we've filled in our catalog over the last 15 years since we were really ramping up our instrument production. We filled in the gaps. So the apprentice instrument, if you're going to be a master craftsman, you start as an apprentice. So all of our beginning level instruments are apprentice. You'll notice that we have a lot of features that are traditionally found on more advanced instruments, like what would be more considered an intermediate horn. You're going to find on our apprentice series instruments. You're going to have an ergonomic feel on the saxophone. You're going to have that high F sharp. You're going to have really solid trumpet with weight to it, like the old ambassadors back in the day. The hand slides feel lightning fast. All of these features on the student instruments are going to generally be advanced from most other comparable student instruments. Our Select series injects further features. You're going to get into higher quality saxophones. You're going to get into extra features on the trumpets and the clarinets. We got a wooden clarinet. We've got our open hole low B foot flutes on the Select series. Our Artist series is an imported pro level horn. It was developed and designed to give the idea of custom instruments with very forward-thinking design elements, but at a much more affordable price for customers that couldn't afford our handmade stuff. And when you're looking at our handmade stuff, we have our Handcraft series, which is going to be very competitive against any other American brand on the pro level side of things. These are instruments you're going to expect to see. Trombone Shorty is playing on a Paseo model. His horn is just a little bit more hand engraved. And then our full custom, which is you design it, we build it. It's pretty awesome. Factory direct, again, very, very competitive pricing. That covers woodwind, brass, and our percussion with 825, which is going to be in the next slide. How does BAC Music solve all of your issues? Reducing costs is a big deal. No matter what, if you're looking to acquire instruments for your program, we really do hope that not only you consider BAC, but you make sure that BAC is on the approved product list. A lot of the people in the procurement office are just going to do what they did 10 years ago. And if they don't know that we're on that list, we might not be on that list, and it may make it a little bit more difficult. So please, if you're an educator, make sure we're on those approved vendor lists that people can look at our pricing. We've got better quality. It lasts longer. Again, the Boston Crusaders, the Marine Corps, we've definitely stood the test of time with our instruments. We've had a great out-of-box success rate since the beginning with our student horns. Our parts are available through Allied Supply. So parts should be something of peace of mind. And we're going to talk about the repair program with Rent My Instrument in a minute. And then the support, the level of support you're going to get out of BAC is incredible. You're not talking with a road rep that's going to talk with somebody in the store that's going to try to talk to a repair tech to answer a question, who's going to try to reach out to the factory because they have a question that they don't know. You're talking directly with the manufacturer. And that is one of the most incredible things I think we have to offer here. 825 marching brass and percussion. In Winter Guard International, if you're a drummer-minded person, you're going to look at organizations like Orange County Independent, River City Rhythm. They're playing on our battery and percussion. We've got a lot of incredibly innovative elements on our drums that you're going to absolutely love. We're keeping in mind health and wellness, the weight of the drum, and some really meaningful things. If you are a drummer, you definitely want to learn more about our percussion instruments. And I'll tell you a couple of little things on a free-floating snare drum. They started collapsing. The drums started collapsing back in the 90s because of the bulletproof drum heads that they had. We have developed a system. The answer to that, companies, is they injected stainless steel or some sort of a steel hoop that stopped the drum from collapsing. But the sound of the drum went away. It's harder carpal tunnel. Tendonitis started happening on drummers. You're basically playing on a metal table. So we have changed the drum to incorporate a wood bearing edge. So you got to dig into that. If you're a drummer, I want you to look at that on our website. Our tenor drums are adjustable in and out, which is great for drummers of all different sizes. Our bass drums save about a third of the weight. We've got front ensemble instruments like vibraphones, marimbas, xylophones. All of this stuff is also important for you to understand, because when you're going to be spending money to get those free instruments, I should say not spending money, spending credit to get free instruments, I want you to know that BAC has a full catalog of product, both concert instruments and marching instruments. Rentmyinstrument.com. This is it right here. When I started my company, and I started that shop in Overland Park out of my house, and we expanded into a storefront, I used to not really do much with rental programs. In fact, I was against it. I didn't like them at all. I thought it took advantage of parents. I thought parents spent way too much money on rental programs. And then I met the guys at rentmyinstrument.com, and I thought, wait a second, what is this? I would literally go to garage sales, and I go to antique stores, and I'd be in the newspaper back in the day trying to find instruments that I could clean up, maybe repad a clarinet, and then sell it for used so that I could save parents money. And I started realizing, wait a second, Why am I buying a 20-year-old clarinet, spending all this time repatting it, and it still has some scratches and stuff in it? The case is old. And now I realize Rent My Instrument had an option for a 50% off early purchase discount. And I started realizing, wait a second, you could rent an instrument for 1 month and then buy it for 50% off. This doesn't make sense. How are you able to do this? And I want you to understand this, because a lot of band directors don't know how we can offer such an incredible program for the rental side of things. And here it is. My partner, when they started, my partners had noticed that all of the companies have very strict policies on what you can sell a beginning instrument, an entry-level instrument for. They're strict policies that were given by the manufacturers like Yamaha, Consulmer, Jupiter, that said you cannot sell this online for anything less than the fully suggested retail price. Why? Because they're trying to preserve the rental model. They wanted the stores that they work with, their dealers, to make as much money as possible. And with that, dealers build in interest and financing, all sorts of things. But my partners with Rent My Instrument noticed that if you rent an instrument for 1 month, now it's used. And you can't control what we sell a used instrument for. And that blew my mind. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is great. And that was the very beginning for me to understand that these dudes really care about the music industry as much as I do. So if you look at our program, 50% off. As soon as the family starts renting, there's no interest, there's no financing. At any point, whatever the remaining balance is, the family has an opportunity to save 50% by purchasing it early. We're also going to talk about this. Free shipping, no matter where you are, which includes repairs. Every month, you're going to be paying a repair and maintenance fee, and that is going to include and encompass anything that happens that goes wrong with the instrument. If it happens, somebody sits in an instrument, Johnny or Sue drops their instrument, they're going to get on our website. They may reach out to us and email us, or you could go to rentmyinstrument.com/repairs. Oh. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? All right. Taking a quick pause here. Making sure. All right, good deal. Everyone can everybody see me? All right. So we had a little panic moment. I'm glad. Okay, good deal. Thumbs are up. Good deal. No worries. So the repair thing, this is a really big thing. So free shipping to the house, 50% off, no interest, no financing. And then here's the other thing, repairs. How long? I'm going to look at the chat box. How long does it take? If you've got somebody that walks into the program on Monday and says, hey, band director, I dropped my trumpet last night, got the mouthpiece stuck. Dad tried to pull the mouthpiece out with a vise, broke all the solder joints. How long does it take for that instrument to get repaired and back to you? And I'm going to take a look at this. 2029. Is that how long? 20. He's going to get it back in 2029. I love that. That's about right. So here, I'm going to tell you what we do, and I'm also going to walk you through a common conversation I have with a lot of people. So in those instances, this is what happens with a lot of people. The instrument gets broken. It comes in on Monday. The band director says, okay, put it in my office. First of all, we don't want to put the burden on you. You don't need it in your office. You've got enough going on. You need to focus on what you're focusing on, which is music education and changing lives. Typically what happens is, okay, put it in my office. On Wednesday, so-and-so from such and such is going to come by. I'll give it to him. He's going to take it back to the store. But guess what? It doesn't get repaired at that store. It gets transferred to a centralized repair facility. Does this sound familiar, anybody? Anybody? Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. I see 2 weeks is common. Gets transferred to a centralized repair facility, enters the queue, gets serviced, eventually gets sent back to the school. And then on the next Tuesday, before they go out for their run, then that person will pick up the instrument and bring it back to the school. And then finally, I see 2 to 3 weeks is a common thing. You may get it back. With us, the family gets a label right away. They could do it over the weekend if they want. As soon as the instrument drops, they can get a label over the weekend. They're going to be asked 4 or 5 questions. It's super easy, super fast. They don't need to be an expert at instruments. They can literally say, Johnny's trumpet's broken. I don't know what's going on with it. And then we're going to get right then and there. They hit submit, and right on that screen, it's going to give them a shipping label that they print out. and then they could slap it on a box and drop it off to any UPS store. It's that easy. If they don't have the ability to drop it off at a UPS store, they'll let us know and we can issue a call tag. A truck will go out and pick it up. It gets shipped back to us. Again, we're right in the middle of the country, so shipping is going to be about a 2-day lane no matter where you are. As soon as we get it that day, generally, it's that day the horn is repaired, goes back in the mail. If not that day, the next day it's back in the mail. You're looking about getting that instrument back in a week. How does that sound? And that's, again, all of our instruments are new or like new. That's another really big thing. When you're looking at a lot of music stores, I have visited most music stores around the country. You'd be surprised. I've probably walked, as a human, may be able to join the Guinness Book of World Records when I was out there trying to sell our brand to stores. I've been in the stores all across the country, and I've seen it all. I've seen con directors in a rental pool. They haven't made a con director in 20 or 30 years. I've seen Olds Ambassadors and Bundys. It's crazy. So all of our instruments are new or like new, and because of that, you're not going to have a lot of problems to worry about. And let me go back to this. All right. How Rent My Instrument fixes and accesses issues, and that's it. I just talked about it. It's affordable. It's reliable shipping. Keeping it really easy for your families is a big deal. Why do you need to have a band night? Let me ask you this question, because a lot of programs have had band nights where they invite a store to come in and set up all their instruments. Maybe you're trying to keep it fair. You got a couple of stores that are coming in. Why do you do that? That's your time. That's your family's time. Everyone has a lot of million things going on right now. You got soccer practice. This kid has choir. This kid has aquatics. There's all these things. We're providing a solution that saves you from having to do that. We're giving you reliable instruments, quality instruments, and we're going to give you a link, which we're going to be talking about in a second, that you can provide to the parents and say, hey, look, you can get an instrument from anywhere you want, but here are a couple places we're familiar with. One of them is this program, which is going to be the Virtual Booster Club. Here's how it works. This is so easy. You're going to sign your school up as a Virtual Booster Club account. Your parents get the option to rent from wherever they want to rent. Should they rent it through your Virtual Booster Club, every single dollar that they spend is given to your program in credit. I want that to sink in. I want to look at the chat. Yes. Wow. Come on there, guy. This is exactly how it works. If one family rents an instrument, on average, instruments are different cost, right? So a flute is less expensive than an alto saxophone. Everywhere you go, that's the reality to rent an instrument. But let's work with a $35 average cost for renting an instrument. Over the course of 12 months, that $35 is $420 credit for your program. So the next thing I'm going to ask is how many students are you starting band in your programs? Let's look at some numbers here. Let us know how many, whether you're the high school band director and you're familiar with what the middle school starts, or maybe you're a middle school band director. We're going to talk about how we can leverage this to really help out the whole program. How many students are beginning band in your areas? Give us a few ideas. We got 70 to 90. Oh, you're going to love that. I'm going to tell you how that's going to shake out. Who else out there? Just give us how many students are beginning band, because we're going to show you how this looks. On the next slide, $420. So look at this, 50 students, so that's 70 to 90. Just to give you an idea, if 50 of your students of the 70 or 90 are going to rent from rentmyinstrument.com's Virtual Booster Club, all right, we got 10. So let's do that. Add that up too. So 10 is going to be about $4,200. Check that out. What is your budget right now? With a program starting 10, what is your budget right now for the whole year? What is your budget for new instruments? What is your budget for repair? What is your budget to move the kids on a bus? What is your budget for the whole year? Because with a program that starts 10, I've heard a lot of different things. I've asked band directors, what's your budget? They laugh at me. What do you mean budget? I've had band directors say I've got $5,000, but that's for the whole year. And that's what I said. Instruments, repair, music I'm buying, moving the kids around on a bus, and that's all they get. So for the program that's 70 to 90, if 50 of them were to rent with us, you get a $21,000 credit. So here we go. So with those of you that answered, so 70 to 90, 10, 100, This is how much money we got. $84,000. 80. You guys just with the three that answered right there. If you guys leveraged our virtual booster program, I know that might look backwards. I don't know. That's $84,000. Please do not let $84,000 go to waste. This is no one is doing this. And I'm not a ShamWow guy. That's not what I do. I am a musical instrument individual. I love music education. I would not be who I was without band. We want to really make a difference. So here's to another case study. They cut everything. We don't really know what our budget is. See that? So if you are struggling with an uncertain or unknown budget, I want you to think about how many kids begin band, and do you believe in this program? Do you believe a company that's working with the drum corps that may very well win their first world champion after 85 years this summer, the United States Marine Corps? If you believe in the quality that we have, and you believe in the pricing structure that we have laid out, you believe in the fact that we're trying to save money for programs and inject money into your program, you can look at those 10 students that are starting band out. You probably have an idea of who might need an instrument. And you can start actually saying, hey, I may end up with a couple $1,000s at the end of this summer or at the end of this year. What can I do with that? A couple $1,000. You may be able to get instruments. So maybe next year you have 14 kids in band. Maybe there's a couple families in your school that aren't going to be doing band because they can't afford it. There's a lot of ways you can shake this out. Wellington, Kansas. This is crazy. Wellington, Kansas. Tell me if you've heard of Wellington, Kansas. I'll be honest. I was not familiar with Wellington, Kansas before we started working with them. The population of this town in Western Kansas is about 7,000. They were one of the first schools that we rolled this program out with 3 years ago. And in 3 years, they've earned over $36,000. We got a little info down here on what they got. They had a very limited budget. First of all, they've gotten clarinet, single horns, euphoniums, concert bass drum, piccolos, multi-tenors, snare, bass stands, practice pads. This is a game changer. Imagine how that would benefit your program if after a year of doing this, you haven't done anything different. You actually have a company that's reactive that will work with you. And again, I'll ask the question, what is the company, if you are renting through another store, what are they investing into your program each year? For a program like Wellington, I could tell you nobody was giving them $36,000. We've given them $36,000 of product at the end of the year. So yes. Oh, nice. You heard Boston Crusaders in Cincinnati. Awesome. All right. Next slide here. I want to say reasons it makes sense to go forward with us. So again, I hope you've learned a lot about our program and how we're serving you. But again, financial freedom, we're providing a way for you to get instruments for free. We're giving a way for you to maximize the budgets that you have. We're dealing direct. We are a manufacturer. We're not a music store. We are a manufacturer. I've got the hands to prove that we make instruments at this building, but now I can do this. Come on, guy. We got maximized budget. You're saving time. Don't worry about spending time with the band rental night. Have that time. Go home and drink a milkshake. You're in the time when you got marching band and stuff. Don't worry about that. We want to save you time. We don't want you dealing with managing instruments that are being dropped off. We don't want you dealing with time. Your planning period should be your planning period. Let your parents easily and painlessly take care of instruments that are broken or need repair by doing it with us. Free shipping, all inclusive, all that kind of stuff. And we want to empower students to have instruments that look better, that are newer, that perform properly, that'll allow them to be successful. And we truly want to be a partner with you and your program. Another success story, Lambertville School District in California. This is a full school district. One of their schools last year realized $18,000. They realized $18,000 in credit from their first year doing this. If this doesn't underscore how amazing this is, I don't know what will. The school district said, why on earth would we not want to do this with all of our schools? And look, this is why we are doing this. We want to change the world. We want to make lives better for the band director, for students. Ultimately, we want to see more people getting to the point where they're going to buy an American-made custom trombone. We want more people to get full ride scholarships to Berkeley or go to Juilliard. We want to be there to support them at the end of their musical career. We want to work with you to help ignite that passion. Lambersville is going to go all in on their whole school district. They're expecting anywhere around 300 rentals this year. That's $126,000. There is no music store in the country that would give $136,000 to a school district in free instruments. There just isn't. We got a question. Let's look at our questions. What do we got? Do you have an inventory on hand for emergency situations? Yes. And thank you for that question. So we already talked about how streamlined our repair service is. It's usually back within about a week, which is way faster than most every other mom and pop shop I could think of, with very rare exceptions out there. But let's say we get a call on Monday or Tuesday. Oh my goodness, my daughter dropped her clarinet and we've got a performance on Friday. We will absolutely work with those isolated situations. We get an instrument sent straight away. And then I also want to tell you about our stock order. So that would be for families. We have a supply of instruments. In an emergency situation, we can get something sent out right away so they don't miss that band concert. We do have the ability of doing overnight rush shipping as well. Of course, that's not free, but the parent has that option. We've also had a lot of situations in the past where somebody's instrument breaks and they just turn to us to rent an instrument so that they get something quick. And again, in those instances, they can have expedited shipping. If you're a school ordering product and we are out, for example, of mellophones at a point, again, it's 18 to 20 weeks. All the instruments that we distribute that are not made here in our facility are going to go through our team in the factories. And then when they get to us, they go through our quality control team right here in Kansas City to ensure everything works properly out of the box. Let me see if we got any other questions. Our prices against competitors were way better. One thing I want to also point out is if you go to our website, you're going to see that we have a quote builder. You can easily add inventory levels and numbers into that quote builder. Yes, it'll generate a number, but I want you to know that when you submit that, it'll trigger an email to us, and we're going to get back to you with another price that we're going to offer for school bids that's even way better than what you're going to find. You will probably find that our pricing right off that website builder is going to be actually lower than anybody else you have out there if you've gotten bids and stuff already. But I want you to know that we're going to have a better price coming to you by email. You're going to get somebody from our sales team will reach out to you and walk you through that special school pricing. All right. Our instruments really high quality. Again, we talked about the Boston Crusaders. We do have everything in the catalog is going to be in stock in the fall. We have, for the first time ever, a stock order coming in. Thank you for the note from my team here. We've got a stock order that's going to be arriving in September. And we've got things like sousaphones, bari saxes, bass clarinets, euphoniums, French horns, everything in our catalog. We have a stock order coming in the fall that will be ready and available for distribution in September. So definitely go to the quote builder on our website if you have any questions or thoughts, or you do have a dream wish list on hand. We've already talked about how repairs are handled. If anybody has any other clarification needed on any of that, let me know. Will VBC be a hassle for me and my parents? Absolutely not. In fact, every band director, when you sign up for us for our program for the Virtual Booster Club, you'll be given a login to a special portal, which will allow you to see every month where you're at with that credit. It'll be super easy to log in and see that. And it's going to be painless and easy for your parents. Literally, all they're going to be doing is renting an instrument from somebody anyway. We happen to be saving them a ton of money, and we're going to be investing that back into your program where you can use that credit to buy any BAC or 825 instruments in our catalog. What if only a few students rent? Will it make a difference? I'll ask you that question. If one single family rents and you get $420, is that meaningful for you? If you've got 10 families that rent, you got $4,200. If you've got a program of 100 kids and only 10 rent, you'll still get $4,200. And I would ask, how would you like to have an extra couple mellophones in your program? So that's a really good question to be asking. If only a few people, don't worry about that. We want to help you as much as we possibly can. All right. And then we get the question, is it only good for instruments? We do have accessories like mouthpieces, cases, all sorts of other things that you can utilize, anything from our catalog. All right. There we go. So the quick recap on all of this. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Free continuous funding, unbeatable direct pricing, fast and reliable delivery, seamless integrated support. No other company offers this. We are the manufacturer. So now here it is. Anybody on this call right now that signs up to become a Virtual Booster Club, we are going to give you a $300 free credit right after your first rental. So if one family rents from you guys, you're going to end up with not $420 on average, depending what instrument it is, but you're going to have an extra $300 that will go a long way, I have no doubt. So go ahead and fill it out now. So that is the program. If you have any other questions, I want you to jump in, but please sign up. Go to the website, virtualboosterclub.com. And if you sign up right now, while we're on this webinar, I'm going to load you up with $300 in credit for your program that you'll have to use and spend however you want, whether that's mouthpieces for kids, tuba mouthpieces, trumpet mouthpieces, trombone mouthpieces, or a new case. You could use that $300 credit for anything in our catalog. We're looking for anybody. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, John, for jumping in. Please be in touch. Please make sure if you haven't signed up your program, go ahead and do that before you head out. I appreciate you jumping in. Also, spread the word. We do have an ambassador program that we're working with. So if you really believe in this program and you say, wow, this is going to be awesome for my program, we're going to get a lot of free instruments. This is going to be a game changer. If you believe like that, spread the word. Let us know the friends that you're sending our way, and we'll have a way of thanking you if they jump in and sign on. So there we go. The process to become an artist with your company. Awesome. Reach out to us. You can send an email to orders@bacmusic.com or sales@bacmusic.com. You can send an email to myself, Tyler, and just say that you have interest in becoming an artist. We'll find out what instrument you play. We'll get some basic information out of you, and we would love to work with you if you have interest in being an artist for our company. So thank you for that, Tyree. Thank you for that question. Our middle school needs instruments. I'll be working with them as well. Awesome. And again, if you have interest in working with us to help us out, we'll have a way of saying thank you if you recommend the program and one of your friends or colleagues signs up as a Virtual Booster Club. If you're a musician and you want to, we have a way of doing that too. If you become an ambassador for us and you're playing on our instruments, we've got a way of saying thank you to spread the word. This is the best way to get the word out. We could spend a ton of money on marketing and ads, or we could just do something like this where we're talking directly with you. Tyree, thank you congratulations for signing. Congratulations for signing. I can't wait to see what you're going to get for free next year. Maybe we'll have you on our webinar next year to talk about the awesome things that you got for free for your program. So again, Tyree, thank you so much. I'll tell you what, no worries. I appreciate it so much. If anybody else jumps in on this program, anybody else, we want to get you that $300. Don't miss up on that $300. Again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. If there are any other questions that we may have missed, feel free to drop us a line. We got Tyler at rmikc.com or Mike at bacmusic.com. If you send an email to orders@ or sales@bacmusic.com, it'll go to our whole team. We don't want to let any questions go unanswered. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar today. This is the first such webinar that we've ever had, and we got a sign up. So thank you very much for that. Having trouble signing up from Tom Savage. So if you're having issues with the QR code, just try to go to, let me go to one more. If you go to virtualboosterclub.com, and if you use the code webinar, you'll get that $300 bonus. If for any reason this slips, just let us know. We're keeping track of who's here. Let us know you're on the webinar and you want to collect that $300. Willie, congratulations, Willie. All right, Willie Cole, or Willie Knoll, thank you very much. Congratulations on that. Again, I can't wait to see what kind of free instruments we're going to be able to get for your program. down there in Austin, Texas. That is fantastic. You're going to get $300 in free credit. If you are having issues signing up for Virtual Booster Club, you could go to the website, virtualboosterclub.com, use code webinar to get that $300 bonus. And if there's any other questions, thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much, Willie. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. If you're watching a recorded version of this webinar, please reach out to us. We want to talk with you. We want to know the challenges that your program has, how we can help. We want to hear the success stories as well. So thank you again for tuning in. If you're watching this pre-recorded, thank you for doing that. And especially thank you for spreading the word about what we're doing here in the heart of America from Kansas City's historic jazz district with BAC Musical Instruments and our pillar partners with the rentmyinstrument.com, with the 825 Marching, and with Virtual Booster Club, changing the world one instrument rental at a time. Thank you guys so much and enjoy the rest of your week.